Hello, and welcome to Create Utopia with me, Chicory, and my co-host, Zero. Say hi, Zero.
Hi,
What are we
I
playing?
am the Zero.
What are we playing this week?
This week we're playing Long Live the Queen because we're going to be talking about a lot of equality topics and surveillance issue topics. So it should be good.
It should be good. Okay, specifically, we're going to talk about Caitlyn Jenner and sort of her trans story. I hope that's not offensive. And um, some feminism issues, such as teenage girls' dress codes and dress codes in general, the Abercrombie and Fitch dress code. NSA
Aber?
Amber. What did I say?
Abercrombie. There's no M in it.
No, there's an M. Is it there? It says M in the link in Politico. Abercrombie dash fish
Is it really?
dash hijab dash case dash Supreme Court ruling.
Cool, let's roll with it. I
Yeah,
will now change my vocabulary totally.
great. And then the Patriot
What?
Act.
It's totally Abercrombie. They misspelled it on the Politico link. I stand by my initial statement.
Okay, that's cool. Abercrombie, I guess. I don't think it matters that
Carry
much.
on. Sorry. I was just you confused me for a moment.
Okay, well, I didn't mean to confuse you. And then the last one is the overseas tariffs and the TTP and TNT and TPPA, right? Those ones?
TPP and to a lesser extent TPA,
Okay.
which is related to TPP
Which is
in a
like
way I will probably have to explain later.
it's like a toilet paper party, right? TPP?
Yes.
Okay.
It's when you toilet paper someone's palm tree, the TPPPT. TPPT. Yes. Toilet paper palm tree.
Okay.
All right, so before we get started on that, what are our goals for this run of Long Live the Queen?
Our goals are A, survive, always.
Okay, we'll see. That's
B,
a noble goal.
I have played this game like once or twice, and I have never played the like super princessy princess route. Like I've always gone with the militaristic or physical route or the intelligence route. So I want to do totally socialist route if we can. Social
Okay,
and mystical, princessy princess.
do we want to go Caitlyn Stark or Cersei Lannister princess?
Neither of those people were actual. Okay, I guess Cersei was kind of a princess, but Caitlyn was never really a princess. You know what I mean? And
No,
also, it should
I
be
have not a clue
Caitlyn
what you
Tully.
mean.
Well, because she was never crowned. She's like the queen mother, but she was never princess.
Ah, I see what I was referring more to the general noble lady. Do we want to go with the noble lady who is like meant to be married off or the noble lady who thinks she's all good at intrigue?
Say that again?
Essentially, should I focus on agility, dance, reflexes, flexibility, etc., or should I focus on intrigue, internal affairs, foreign intelligence, and ciphering? Intrigue is Circe, agility is Caitlyn. Also, faith is Caitlyn.
Um,
Faith is probably more Caitlyn.
I don't know. Seriously, okay. Spoilers. Seriously, did have that prophecy
Are you
about
seriously
her.
spoiling Game of Thrones?
Yeah, Seriously did have that prophecy about her.
We can't do prophecies in the game. Do you want intrigue or faith? Or agility?
Um,
Along with the social skills.
let's do intrigue. I've never done intrigue. I'm
Cool,
intrigued.
let's do intrigue. Yeah, and we'll still go for outfits?
Yeah.
No, because you want to go mostly social, so I'm not going to branch out as much.
Okay.
All right, cool. So let's get started.
Okay. So first thing is Caitlyn Jenner. I liked the bot at she not he, and basically it's
Flip
a
that.
thing that said it's like a really simple bot that looks for any time that they misgender Caitlyn Jenner, and it just says, "Hey, beep boop beep, it's she, not he," and like that's the whole message. And then some people write back, and the person that made the thought was like, oh, I learned some things from doing this. And I think a lot of what they learned is that some people are still assholes. They're still going to be screw you. You know, if you're born one way, then that's, you know, how we see you, and how we see you is more important than how you see you. And some people were like, oh, that's something that we can learn from, and now they will properly give the proper pronouns to Caitlin from now on. And some people were like, yeah, this is really cool, blah, blah, blah. And I just think that that's kind of cool, right?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think the reaction to Caitlyn Jenner is really fascinating compared to the reaction to Chelsea Manning. And it's kind of amazing how much fame buys you in society. And, like, people will turn so quickly on celebrities who make quote unquote shocking stances, but they aren't always paying attention to, like, when it's happening to other non-celebrity folks. There was this point where celebrity adoptions went from being something admirable to something that was a joke. And I'm a little bit worried that after the lead singer of Against Me, Laura Jane Grace, I hope I got her middle name right, and Chelsea Manning, and now Caitlyn Jenner, with all those people in the news, if more Mike Huckabee's already making fun of them, but that's Huckabee. Like, if it's going to hit that point where people start making fun of it, and I guess to a certain extent that means it's reached normalcy, like when all the celebrities were adopting babies from Africa.
Yeah, like Angelina Jolie. Mostly Angelina Jolie. I think she caught the brunt of that. Both that it was good,
She did,
and then
well,
that it was too many.
yes, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. And then there's these two TV shows. I didn't list this, I'm sorry, but I was hearing about these two TV shows that's Becoming Us, and there's another one about transitioning people and how sort of problematic that is because they are being seen through their cis children or partners instead of their own story. So it's the story of everyone but the cis person. Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, the goal of making a good story is to tell it in a way that the audience can identify with it, and most of the audience cannot identify with the trans person. So they tell the story through the eyes of how horrible it would be for the cis people, or how good it is for the cis people around them, which in turn marginalizes the trans people, which is a problem because I don't know if you read the Amanda Palmer article I sent you earlier today. Like, she talks about empathy in it. And
I did read that.
The empathy part is really important, but people don't like doing it. That's why so many of our action heroes are like blank white males, because it's easy to empathize, because that's what most stories come from. There was a really good response to a fanboy when Thor became female that was saying, oh, well, with there being a black Spider-Man and there being a female Thor and now there's going to be a female Avengers, who am I going to root for in comics? And the woman's response is, well, you know, there's not really a shortage of white male protagonists in comics at the moment, but if, say, for some reason there were, you might have to show some empathy, like everyone who's not a straight white male has had to, who loves reading comics for the past
X
70
years.
plus years the superheroes have been around. It's one of the reasons I loved X-Men growing up. Like, Nightcrawler will forever be my favorite X-Men, because essentially, as a mixed race person growing up in Nebraska, there's a lot to identify with in Nightcrawler.
Really? Isn't he German though?
Yeah.
But he just like but also doesn't he always, I mean, I like
how that's your focus for Nightcrawler. Nailed it. This is why I do this show with you. Nightcrawler, isn't he the German X-Men? Yes. That's the first thing most people think of when they think Nightcrawler. The German X-Men.
He's also blue and fuzzy, I guess. But he lived in Germany. He like grew up there, didn't he?
He was a circus performer.
Yeah.
Yes, he did grow up in Germany. He also has a tail and looks kind of demonic and can teleport.
Yeah.
But the German is what I think of first too, obviously. He was also a priest in his solo series, which was actually pretty decent.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but that's
And he
cool.
fights with dual swords.
I definitely like that. Dual Swords has always been one of my favorites.
Yep.
Um, uh,
Sabers.
but
Do you
he,
want to
okay,
send our aunt away, rest her, or let her stay?
let her stay, right?
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got derailed for a second. Nightcrawler, always like in the animated series where they're like all teenagers, he has like a special watch that he can wear that like covers up how he looks though. So he looks
Yeah, and
white.
he does have that in X-Men Evolution.
Yeah.
They do give him a watch so he looks like a normal white guy. Which, up on my shelf, I have the God Love Man Kills X-Men book,
Yeah.
which is some of the best X-Men writing ever. And it essentially talks about how Nightcrawler's more human than a lot of the antagonists, and does not dress him up as a normal white guy. The X-Men Evolution thing was problematic for me. Let's put it that way, and maybe move on to our other topics of where you take away. Well, it's the argument that Magneto makes to Mystique in the films, like. You look beautiful the way you are. You don't need to disguise yourself as white blonde girl.
I
Like,
know.
I like you. And then they did the exact opposite of that. Like, one of Nightcrawler's things was that, yes, he looked blue, fuzzy, and demonic, but he was never ashamed of that.
Yeah.
He had learned to live with it in his time being a circus performer, and that's one of the reasons I like the character. Like, he was not ashamed of the person he was. Now, teenage Nightcrawler, I kind of get it, because everyone in X-Men Evolution was teenage-ish.
Yeah, and you do kind of
But
want to blend in
still.
when you're a teenager, which is what I thought
Yeah.
the parallel that you were drawing. Maybe I don't know. I didn't want to assume, but
No, I
that.
liked Nightcrawler because he looked different from everyone else, but he was essentially comfortable in his own skin.
Oh, I see. Well, I was wrong then.
It's okay. But yeah, and that's a large part of the trans thing is you want to be comfortable in your own skin, and our society really forces people to conform to a thing that's inherently arbitrary. If you believe that what people do behind closed doors is none of your business, which not everyone does. We have plenty of people trying to legislate behind your door, and strangely they're often Republicans who should be most against that. Hold
They
still.
say
We're
there.
being a princess, so let's hold still. But if that's the case, then gender as a concept is mostly irrelevant, right? Like, you're the anthropologist. Gender is more of a construct than sex is.
Yeah, I mean, there's just in different cultures. I guess they would say there's different ideals of gender, and so things can be
Well, that's kind of my point.
identified differently. That's my anthropological Judah for the day.
Yeah,
Things are different in different cultures.
Right, because gender is a construct. Like, maybe to some people your sex matters, and they don't want to be, like, fooled or something by a transgender person because they're pretty insecure. But for the most part, it comes down to, as a human, how to phrase this? As a human, you are going to, in a certain extent, be categorized by other humans.
Yeah, you are going
That
to
is
be
unavoidable.
looked
Other
at in certain
humans
ways.
understandably want to make categorizing you easy. So the humans in charge make up a bunch of crap that make people easy to categorize. Like when you talked about reductionism earlier today.
Yeah, I did.
When you
In a
define
tweet.
those categories, you are defying this concept of making yourself easy to categorize. And people feel very put upon by that. Like you're intentionally making their lives harder. And it becomes super difficult for them to see, oh, you're not just doing that to annoy me. You're doing that because it actually means something to you.
Yeah.
And that sort of what do you mean you weren't just doing this to piss me off is really confusing to a lot of people. Like they think you are out to get them when you like break their gender stereotypes. Very much in the feminism vein. That's why so many men take the idea of calling yourself a feminist so hard, is because they feel like for some reason if you're pro equality, you're against them. Because they're like, well, I haven't noticed any of the privilege I had, therefore it must not exist. Which always makes me wonder, are they actually paying attention to what's happening to the people around them?
No.
And my guess is not, because you know what? Life is hard. A lot of people just don't have time
I think that's
to
true.
pay attention to what's happening to other people.
It's hard enough to just live your own life and to pay attention to what other people are doing or to imagine that kind of thing. Takes like time and concentration, I think. I catch myself doing
Yeah,
that all the time. where I'm like, well, I feel this way. I don't understand how other people can't feel that way or don't feel that way.
Yeah, and that sort of thing, it very much makes it. Yeah, you get caught in that loop, and you stop thinking about other people, and then it feels like other people are just trying to make your life harder, and so you automatically react against it because you think it's a zero-sum game. If their life gets easier, your life gets harder. And to a certain extent, yes, at some point, you may have to realize that, ooh, not everyone walking around in the streets in pants is a guy. How dare women wear blue jeans?
But they're so
You'll confuse
comfortable.
the sexes. If women wear blue jeans, how will I tell a woman at a glance on the street? Like
Because
that
she's
sort of thing.
topless, right?
What if she has small breasts? Well, I guess she's not really a woman anyway.
That's terrible, Zero.
Drives me crazy. I have heard guys who talk like that. I like remember when Miley Cyrus cut her hair and everyone's like, she looks like a boy. Like that was a thing. People were actually doing that.
I think that she looked a little androgynous, maybe, but I thought it was kind of pretty.
I would agree.
Anyway, I guess I have two stories about that. So story A is a friend of mine is very into gender binaryism, and I had like a really long talk with him about this one day as we were hiking around. And so maybe it was a little disjointed because we were hiking, but the gist that I got from him was whatever, XY chromosome you're born with is what you are throughout the rest of your life, which I think is kind of bullshit, but I couldn't change his mind, basically. But at the end of it, I was like, well, but I mean, if they ask you, someone with an XY chromosome asks you to call them a her, would you do it? And he's like, yeah, it's just polite. And I was like, well, even if you're not, ooh, what a pretty dress. Even if you're not,
We got a toga.
I know, I like the little gold thing on her arm. Even if you're not sort of coming from the right place, at least you're still being polite, which to me is very easy. I mean, some people are like, I just can't see them that way, blah, blah, blah. I think that's being an asshole. Calling someone whatever
Yes.
they want is pretty easy. And then two, I have a transgender friend, and she puts in all of these things about like hashtag down with cis, hashtag, or like all of these stories on Facebook, good old Facebook, about how she was mistreated by this cis person or that cis person, or just like through the day. And one of my other friends stopped, following her because she's like, she just has so much anger all the time. And I was like, well, she does spend a lot of time on Facebook, I'll give you that. But she needs to vent. Like, so what? She's not talking about me specifically. She's not talking about my friend specifically. She's just talking about, the overarching cis population,
The overarchy?
Yeah, the overarchy. And I don't know, it's like that hashtag not all men, hashtag not all white people, hashtag not all cis. You don't need to say it, Her point that I really liked is that she's dating a cis person. She knows that not all cis people are assholes. She just wants to talk about it, and like vent in like a safe space, which is her Facebook page.
Yeah. There is a very large and important distinction between looking for outrage and noticing when people are not respecting you. I believe respect should be earned. I also believe that whether or not someone's looking for outrage, to rewind a bit, your statement about being polite. Politeness is just a set of rules. I've had this discussion with people before, and they're often like, oh, but being polite is so hard for X, Y, and Z reasons. Like, I don't know how to do it. I find being politeness to be really easy because politeness is just a set of rules you follow.
What are the
Like-
rules, do you think? Like, just give me, like, top two.
Top 2 rules of being polite:
Yeah.
don't say anything about a person that you wouldn't tell them to their face.
Fair. That's a pretty good one.
And if someone takes offense at something you said, you were by definition being offensive and should apologize. With the corollary that you should then try to understand how you were being offensive. And that to me is often the quickest way to tell if someone is just looking to be outraged. If you say, wow, if you are talking to somebody and you, maybe you, 3 people are in a conversation and you're like, well, what about his stuff? And they're like, but I identify as a female. If you say, well, you look like a guy to me, you're being impolite. if you say, "Oh, I'm sorry. What's your preferred pronoun? I should have asked," and they're like she, or maybe they're like Z or Zer, like they like the Z ones, and you try to refer to them as that. You're honestly like, and you say that's a big difference when you say, "I'm sorry. What's your preferred pronoun?" If they storm off and say, "Gosh, cis people always insulting me like that," and they don't even like try to help you get better. Oh no, we're gonna turn down the printing press.
No! Gosh darn it. That's why we always play intelligent, because then you get the printing press.
But yeah, if that's I understand you being offended, and you might even come back later and say, "Oh, that person was actually trying to learn." Like there's a difference between being offended by someone who's trying to be offensive, being offended by someone accidentally, and it's not okay. Like that's what we're trying to fix. People shouldn't being accidentally offensive is almost as bad as being intentionally offensive.
Is it kind of like... I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Is it kind of like when there's laws, like there's like a speeding law, right? And you're driving along and you don't notice that there is a speed change down. And so you keep driving at like 65 miles an hour, but suddenly you're in a 55 mile an hour zone. You didn't notice it, but the rule is still there. And the cop pulls you over and they're like, "You were speeding." And you're like, "I'm sorry." And they're like, "Well, still gonna give you a ticket." And they're like, "What can you do? You were speeding. You didn't know about it. The law still applies." Like that?
Yeah. I mean, hopefully you'll get a less fine or you'll get off on easier behavior. But
I think usually the cop would give you like a break. I don't know. But I'm like,
well, if
a
you
white
think
girl,
of politeness as
so
the series of...
I get breaks
yes,
all the
that's
time.
true. If you think... I got a break, in fairness. I've gotten breaks before. If you think of laws, of being polite as the series of rules you have to follow, then yes. We just got asked if we are considering marrying the Duke.
So yeah, I just like
we have enough court manners to understand.
Because that's a princessy thing.
But I appreciate presents. Doesn't everyone?
Everyone does. Especially me.
So, you hilariously made me lose my train of thought, which is pretty great.
Oh man, I'm sorry. I don't know where we were at.
So basically, if you're going through... I was probably rambling anyway. If you're going through and politeness is a series of rules that people have between each other, yes, it's like breaking a law. And if you break a law accidentally, you'd hope you get some sort of leeway if the law wasn't too major. Now, you are inherently messing with someone's identity. But I believe, if you haven't seen someone for a while, it's okay to say, "Hey, I don't really remember your name. Can you remind me?"
Yeah. Oh, that's the most princessy dress I think I've ever seen her wear.
So, yeah, in that situation, totally be willing to cop you're wrong. One of the biggest recurring problems is that people are just not willing to say they were wrong. They're like, "Oh, well, you look this way, and therefore I called you that way. I'm just calling it like I see it." And then they're like, "Why were people so offensive? Why does everyone use cis as such a negative term?"
Because cis people can be assholes. Just like everyone else.
Yeah. Uh-oh. We'll see if we can actually negotiate this one. We can offer him money. We can try to bluff. We might actually be able to bluff intimidate. I honestly have no clue what your stats have to be for that one.
Let's
we are
try
wearing
it.
a coronet, though. Oh, court manner success. Because of the necklace. Threaten to attack or claim we're allied. This might come back to bite us if we decide not to marry him. Just
we can
so
be
you know.
allied with him without marrying him, though, right?
It's up to you. Do you want to threaten to attack or claim you're allied?
Claim allied. Playing it
That's
dangerous.
hardcore.
Yes, I won!
All right. So yeah, there are rules to follow. Just be a person. And if someone's out looking for outrage, it doesn't hurt you to apologize to them.
Yeah. What are you
At
giving
least
up,
you did the right thing. Yeah, the assumption, like, just because other people don't do the right thing doesn't mean you don't have to. You can apologize for making a mistake, whether or not the other person can take an apology.
That's true. I think. And then it puts you in the right, and you have the upper hand, and blah, 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 blah.
I suppose that is another way to look at it, yes. And then you win the conversation. Take that!
Look, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm a little competitive. Anyway.
Just a bit. I remember a time when you claimed you weren't competitive, and that was hilarious.
I think what I might have said is that I try not to be, or I was trying not to be competitive because of my nature of competitiveness.
Yes. No, that's fair. That's not what you said, but maybe that's what you meant.
Probably that's what I meant. Last thing on this trans thing, call her Caitlin, but then let's move on to the issues affecting the trans community, which is that famous people, trans people, kind of don't get a break, but they can do things. They can afford the surgeries. They can afford their medication. They can afford, to sort of deal with like death threats on like a daily basis, maybe more easily than lots of other trans women and definitely trans women of color.
Trans people of color, by the way.
Trans people.
Like, we're talking a lot about trans women, and trans men kind of get ignored a lot, but
that's true.
It's important to bring up trans men as well.
It's like the female rape versus male rape. Like, both rape is bad. Any kind of rape is bad.
Or talking about white slavery as if it is worse than slavery.
Yeah. It's one of those times that you're right. It is not good to be so specific. It's like better to just include all of the people in this group and just let it be at that. It's like the like really shitty compliments that people can give, like, "Oh, you're really pretty," for an Asian girl. Why did you?
That's a weirdly specific example as well, but yes, I just like your example. I also liked how you phrased it as this is like the one time you're right, and I know you didn't mean it that way, but I'm sure you'll hear it when you're editing later.
I'm sorry.
It's
sorry
pretty
if I
hilarious.
Came off that way. And I can apologize.
Oh, it's Talaris, because Duke of Sedna. We counter-flatteried him, which we've never done before. We accepted his humble offering, a union. He really does want to marry you. Accept his offer, politely decline.
I think this time we can make the politely decline. Maybe.
You want to try it?
Yes! Fingers crossed!
I need to let him down gently. Your Grace, I hold you in the highest respect, but I regret that my impulsive enthusiasm may have misled you. Such decision should not be made in haste. I would, of course, look kindly on your suit in the future. I was under the impression the decision had already been made, Your Highness. Was that not what you told the representative from Ixion?
Oh, you heard about that.
As did my king, who was not pleased to discover promises apparently made on his behalf.
Oh,
no. I want it noted, I told you.
You
As your advisor, you were warned.
No, I'm so sad. Okay.
I hope you will not consider marriage to me to be a punishment. Your Grace, given her, you surely will allow some time for a betrothal period. Of course, I would never press advantage on a child, and you have much to do with your coronation to prepare for. If I might be of service anyway, please send for me. I'll be happy to offer my protection or advice. Thank you. So it looks like we have to marry him anyway, because somebody said we were already allied.
I meant politically, not through marriage.
See what happens when you think of marriage as an ancient and sacred bond between two people who are in love, and not as the political and financial arrangement it was for hundreds of thousands of years.
I think just tens of thousands of years, not hundreds of thousands of years.
Fair. Okay. They probably didn't have marriage hundreds of thousands of years ago.
No, I don't think
I'm sorry, I was overly specific.
Way to tie it back in, Zero.
You're welcome. I'll get you back on topic after your horrible decision. Horrible, depressing decision. But on the plus side, we have a tea dress.
Oh, that's the cutest dress with the hat, the flowers. She does look really sad, though.
Well, that's because she's yielding right now.
Yeah.
You want to learn intrigue, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to try to max out the skills in this first, but then we'll start hitting intrigue really hard.
Okay.
But it might be worth learning dance to do well at the ball.
Yeah. Oh,
I'll think on it.
Definitely dance. It says the last paragraph. I want to read this because I think it's really cool. Of the ACLU, we must not celebrate Caitlin without mourning Islan, Lamia, Penny, and the hundreds of other trans women, mostly of color, and also trans men of any color. We have lost to violence. This violence isn't just at the hands of hateful partners or strangers, but the violence in the arms of hateful and exclusionary systems. Thank you, Caitlin, for bravely sharing your truth. May your platform shed light on these injustices and the leaders who have been fighting to make them known. So, put her to work. Always put her to work. I feel like that's just always the best option.
You always choose put her to work. I'm not convinced it's the best option, but I can't offer a rational reason to choose the others. So,
I think it's because I want her to be popular among like the small people, and so I care less about the guy. I
yep.
don't know. Anyway, next thing is a message to teenage girls about summer dress codes and how girls are always told to cover up, and that's kind of bullshit. I think another thing that I think is bullshit.
I agree. My hatred for the guy code is kind of well known, but I really hate the idea that guys are incapable of controlling themselves, particularly as teenagers.
What is the guy code,
Having
or is it the bro code?
the guy code is kind of a complex series of things which comes down to what's the easiest way to explain it?
I don't
It
know.
takes about 18 years to explain the guy code, but a large chunk of it is women are never as much fun once you get married.
Oh.
Lie when you go on dates.
Well, girls are told to
Um,
lie when they go on dates too, which I think is
it's
not the
true,
best.
but that's why I don't date in general. Well, yes, the idea that you can be tempted and that resisting temptation is noble, but if you don't resist temptation, it's okay. And
It's
most by tempted I
understandable.
mean and by tempted I mean you're not allowed to ever be friends with a female. You may be a friend for a while, but you're always seeing her as someone you eventually want to have sex with. That's why guys are always so surprised when they're like, wow, I just think of you as one of the guys. Because I don't want to have sex with any of the guys. The guy code is actually a big reason why a lot of guys used to be uncomfortable around gay men, right? Because if every single female you see as a guy is a potential person you're trying to get into bed, and you see a gay person who is a gay male who's attracted to other men, your first assumption is that that guy wants to have sex with you. And you're
Oh
not cool with
no!
that.
I think that's really funny. I read this thing a long time ago that the reason that men are afraid of gay men is that they are scared that they will be treated how they treat women.
That is not in any way particularly untrue.
Wait, so are you agreeing with me? I got confused.
I actually I would agree with that statement in a general sense. I of course don't think it's true for 100% of guys, so consider this a gross oversimplification.
Oh yeah. Well, I
But
should say that it's like
yeah,
obviously this is talking about guys that are homophobic specifically, and then like a set of guys that are homophobic, maybe less for religious reasons,
yeah, the
quote
way you can be
unquote.
homophobic even if you're not like you can disliking gay people is not something that religious people have a monopoly on.
True fact.
Let's put it that way. And one of the reasons that that's true is because the guy code doesn't means you don't want to be treated like a woman. Being treated like a woman is bad. I always like Iggy Pop's comment of like he had all those pictures taken of him when he was in a dress, and they're like, "Don't you ever feel shame? Do you feel ashamed to be dressing up like a woman?" And he's like, "No, because I don't think it's shameful to be a woman."
Aw, yeah. That's so true.
Because he's Iggy Pop and he can do what he wants.
That's right. Like the guy that played as Mad Max in Fury Road. They were like,
Tom Hardy.
yeah, Tom Hardy.
Oh yes.
There was this interview question from like a random audience member, and who's like, "Don't you think that were you when you were reading the Mad Max script? Did you ever stop and think, what are all these women doing in it? Isn't this a Mad Max man film?" And Tom Hardy just was like, "No."
Avoiding the Mad Max tangent of Mad Max is a sub character in every film after the first one.
Yay!
He's also a sub character to really powerful women in every one but the first one. And in the first one, he really cares about his wife like a lot.
Like a lot, which is why the first one is a
Yeah.
total downer.
Our Mad Max tangent will be saved for later. Let's carry on about dress codes and the inherent unfairness thereof, which comes back to our statement about gendering is that one, there's no good reason we should have outside of purely fashion reasons of that fit may be different. There's no particular reason to have different clothing choices for men and women,
Plus,
particularly considering that a number of our clothing choices wouldn't like in other cultures. There's lots of other cultures where men wear things like dresses and skirts as just part of normal everyday wear. Like I live in an area with lots of Indian people, and I will see like guys out for walks in long robes that are essentially dresses, in skirts under jackets. I guess they're ankle length skirts, but sarongs and other clothing like that, they aren't particularly feminine clothes. We've just made them that way in our culture, and then we associate with them, if you wear this, then you're bad because you're more female. And then when women wear them, we're like, well, she's wearing these clothes, therefore she's bad for
being feminine
because she's an immoral woman.
Oh yeah, there's always that one.
Oh crap, we have not done any dancing training. Your father does not want you dancing with Talarist. Should we invite Talarist or not? You didn't want to get married to him anyway, so...
No. But it's going to be seen as a thing if we don't invite him, you know what I mean?
Right. Anyway, carry on about your statement about how you're a loose woman.
What? No, I'm not.
That's not where you were going with that? Well, then explain to me. Chicory.
I guess, another anecdotal story is I went to a friend's birthday party the other day, or the weekend, and there was this girl. Oh my gosh, I don't know if you can hear this, but my neighbors are fighting. Oh my gosh.
I can't hear it.
Well, maybe it'll come up through my recording. Anyway.
Maybe.
I think people telling girls that their body is, bad is not the best thing at all. It's not particularly healthy for the girls. But, where I was going with this was, there's anecdotal story, my story. Went to my friend's birthday party, and one of my friends was there, and she was wearing kind of a flowy top and a little jacket, and then she had a kind of short, semi-short pencil skirt on, so it was really hugging her hips. And she kept saying this dress makes, I kind of wish I hadn't worn this dress. I feel like we can lead the parade and make a speech. We're good at speech making. Sorry to interrupt myself. My little girl. Yay! I've never seen us succeed this, so I'm kind of excited. Oh, public speaking.
My affectionate greetings to you all, and my thanks, for it is the people that make this domain great. We are here today to celebrate the gifts of the good lady, the promise of fertility and new birth. Winter always comes, but winter is followed by spring. Each of us faces hardships, but we grow back stronger than ever. Now is the time for new beginnings, and for my beginning as your queen. Your words are met with great applause. Woo!
Yeah!
And the procession regroups and returns to the castle.
Yay! +1.
All right, carry on.
Anyway, she kept feeling like she was being sort of slutty because she was dressed this way. And I didn't want to throw down at the party and be like, whoa, 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 you are being part of the patriarchy or whatever, and you're you don't need to feel like this and blah, blah, blah. All I was was you look more business than slutty because it's a nice pencil dress and you look nice. Blah, blah, blah. And she was happy with that. She's happy to be validated, I guess, but I also kind of wish that I had thrown down at the party and been you don't ever need to feel that way because you're wearing a tight skirt, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. I just think that it's an example of girls being indoctrinated, or women being indoctrinated, and then feeling this way about themselves, even without other people. Nobody told her that. Everybody thought that she looked really nice because she did.
Yeah.
So,
well, and that's part of what the privilege is. Guys like to complain how they are made to look a certain way, and they get all this pressure from the guys in the Men's Health with the six-pack abs and all that other stuff. But they kind of strategically forget about folks like, Homer Simpson and Peter Griffin and every single movie that has a manic pixie dream girl in it, and most Adam Sandler films, where essentially the moral of the story is, be kind of a loser slob guy and you'll get the attractive girl at the end.
yeah.
Are there lots of movies targeted at women that are essentially, hey, be the loser slob girl and you'll get the guy? Or are they more like Pygmalion, where if you just find a way to clean yourself up and look way nicer, then you'll get the hot guy? The impression is never that guys need to clean themselves out.
That was this was Bridget Jones' Diary, but she's still cute throughout the whole thing. But she's I think maybe a little overweight or something. I don't know what. She's
probably Hollywood.
Yeah, she's definitely Hollywood overweight. But the concept is that she's maybe not the most physically attractive person, and she like winds up with these two guys or something. I don't know. I didn't watch the movie. That's only from literally only seeing, I think, one or two trailers for it when I was like 15 or whenever it came out, and then it was on Netflix, and I like was like, oh, Bridget Jones' Diary.
Should we dance with suitors or refuse? Also, I find it hilarious you just gave a movie review for a movie you've never seen.
It was like a movie sum up versus a movie a movie
Fair,
review.
fair. Talarist might think we're breaking off the betrothal if we dance with suitors. The betrothal is the only thing maintaining our alliance with his father. I'm just giving you all the facts. You can make whatever decision you want.
Okay, let's refuse.
Your dad was really pushing you into dancing, by the way.
Oh, did he? I wasn't reading, I'm sorry.
But hey, we didn't really get a ton of time to train on dancing, so I think we're okay. We're wise,
Yay.
we chat comfortably. We
Dude,
saw
I hate
Princess,
that
it's
noise.
crazy in here. Ting, 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 ting.
Anyway,
Could it be a bunch of spoons? Yeah, so on the idea that it's one of those pressures that women have that it never really... Guys talk about the pressures they have, and there are certainly pressure on guys. In the 90s, every guy wanted to be Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Nowadays, people often want to be like Vin Diesel or The Rock, which is cool because they're not as like German white guys. But yeah, like guys get lots of pressure to be that kind of muscular type of thing, but
don't you
they
think that
still
there's
have
like
a
a shift
fairly
in the way
large...
that guys want to be? I'm sorry.
Well,
You know, like
there's
I mean, like
still
it
a
went from like
fairly
Arnold
large
Schwarzenegger.
amount.
Go ahead.
Nice, nailed it. We'll just say it because you can't see my picture and I can see yours. I will yield the floor to you if you start talking. Anyway, okay. Yes, The Rock is still a big draw though. Vin Diesel is a big draw for a similar reason, though his build is slightly different from The Rock.
Yeah.
But there's still lots of films where essentially the like boring, awkward guy gets the girl at the end for nothing except that she has become inexplicably attracted to him. Now, we've moved a long way away from the 80s where raping someone would get her to fall in love with you. So that's a plus. But our portrayal of guy relationships still is not... It's... There are lots of ranges you can be a guy and still be like the popular guy. And there were in the 90s too. There was the Will Smith look, which is very different from the Arnold look. There's the Bill Paxton look. There's the Kevin Costner look. Remember Kevin Costner? There's the Keanu Reeves look, you know, like your husband.
Keanu. I love the Keanu look. Anyway, I think this is another good thing. They pointed out Disney cartoons. Disney guys have like a much wider version of like noses and like head shapes in animation, and all girls get like big forehead, tiny chin, tiny nose, gigantic eyes. Like they're almost exactly the same in every movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you remember that chart that came out a while back? And we should probably find this with a bucket of the different body types for male and female athletes. That chart is awesome. I have to see if I can hunt that down because it's a great drawing reference.
That one.
Like the huge range of body types.
All of the Olympic athletes. So you know they're like good. They're like in shape for whatever they're doing. But then there's like these teeny weeny little gymnasts next to like the gigantic volleyball girls, next to like the big weightlifting girls, next to the fencer girls, next to whatever. It was really cool. I liked it.
Yeah, it's great.
I really like that. Anyway, but back to girls and their dress codes. I don't know. I think it's sort of a shame. Oh, we were also talking about this last night at climbing, which is that girls can wear, like it's more socially acceptable for girls to wear super short shorts when being active or even not being active. And guys can go topless, but if you see like a guy in like a Speedo, people are like, that's weird.
Yeah, it's not the 70s, dude.
Yeah.
Who likes short shorts?
But if a girl goes topless, if a guy wears short shorts like a girl, they'll be like, weird look. If a girl goes topless like a guy, she'll be arrested.
Not everywhere, but yes, in a general sense. Also, think of how angry people get about breastfeeding in public. Whereas, you know, if a guy was sitting on a park bench with his shirt off, it's not like he has fewer nipples exposed.
Well, okay, think about if he was on a bench and he was like, had his top off.
What do you want to do with
the
woman courting your husband? Or your father, sorry.
Insult her with false flattery, I think.
We can actually greet her politely because we kept our composure.
Okay, let's try that. I guess I've never had that option.
Or we can insult her with false flattery if you want.
I've never been successful insulting her with false flattery, and I've never been able to greet her politely. So, you know what? Let's take the option that we haven't had before. Let's greet her politely, and then scorn her in a second.
All right, so carry on about the guys in public.
Anyway, if a guy was like had his shirt off at the beach or something, and was just like holding his kid, then people would be like, "Nah, it's not a big deal." But
They'd probably be like, "Wow, what a great father."
yeah, right. Oh my gosh,
It would...
if he was topless and he was like holding the baby and like feeding the baby with a bottle, that'd be like.
Well, obviously, because he's not breastfeeding. Duh.
Yeah, obviously. Anyway, it's just double standards are stupid. I guess that's the end of it. And then, also, other standards, religious standards, and company standards are also stupid. So, Abercrombie, not Ambercrombie, but Abercrombie and Fitch, lost their court dooley-dad, Supreme Court dooley-dad, with the girl in the hijab case. I hope I'm saying that right. And
I think you're saying it right.
They basically said, they called them out on it, which is that they're saying, you didn't hire this girl, or you didn't accept this girl because she wore the headscarf because she was religious, not because she was just wearing a headscarf, just to wear a headscarf. And also, I found it interesting that they had, or not surprising, but good that they mentioned it in the article, that Abercrombie and Fitch also has paid out lots of money to people. Oh, in September of 2013, the retailer agreed to $71,000 in settlements after the EEOC filed 2 religious discrimination lawsuits, blah, blah, blah. Oh, in addition, in 2005, Abercrombie paid $50 million to Latino, African American, and Asian job applicants to settle a lawsuit alleging lack of diversity. So it's another one of these things that they don't want to hire people of color. Oh, raise taxes or lower taxes? We haven't paid any money, have we?
Nope.
Let's lower taxes. Oh, I was watching this thing. I don't know if it was a BuzzFeed thing or what, but it was talking about in South Africa, not the GQ magazine, but a men's magazine was hiring men's models, and it's like 8% of men are white in South Africa, and 92% are black, because it's Africa, and something like 80% of the male models that they hired were white.
Yeah. Well, apartheid.
Yay!
Legacy continues. Don't yay apartheid.
I'm sorry. I mean, boo! I was
Thank
doing
you.
it sarcastically. I'm sorry if I offended anyone.
I understand. Yay apartheid. And there's the sound clips that will come back to bite us in the future.
No! Whatever. The whole point of our show is to... I don't know, what is the context for this guy? Or the context of our show is to be in context. So I hope that they don't take me out of context, because that would be ironic.
Yeah. In a, appropriate and literal definition of that word. It's the guy who choked his wife to death due to demons in the night.
Execute him? No, in prison. Whoa, whoops. I think we're gonna die.
It'll be fine.
Whoops.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? Everything. Everything could go terribly, terribly wrong.
Yeah, just carry on. It'll be fine.
Anyway, how long have we been? Almost an hour, maybe a little over an hour. Let's go on to Senate fails at being good government. No, I mean, actually, they wouldn't be good government.
No, they failed, but they failed up.
They failed up?
It's actually pretty interesting.
Senate fails to save Patriot Act. Key provisions have expired, at least for a few days. So they have to redraw it, I guess?
Well, essentially, Mitch McConnell wanted to hold out and get everyone to approve the Patriot Act exactly as it was written and without any changes. And Rand Paul was like, that is absolutely not happening. And so he managed to delay a vote. He did. And then they passed the Freedom Act, which is the modified version from the House that basically does a very similar thing, except now the phone companies hold on to the records instead of the government. So the government, they're still mass vacuuming up your data, but the phone companies are holding on to it now.
So now instead of having an evil government, we have evil phone corporations.
Yeah, we've moved slightly away from 1984 and slightly closer to cyberpunk. So we're a little bit less 1984, we're a little bit more Blade Runner.
I think I liked, of movies, I think I liked Blade Runner. Not the theatrical release, but the other one. more than 1984.
There's like 5 Blade Runners.
There are 5 versions of Blade Runner, but one of them I liked more than.
That makes sense. That's not that hard. They're all a lot of them are very different.
I like them. Anyway, so I guess that's not great. I think the best would have been just to stop keeping all of our information and just not keep the information. That would have been what I wanted. But that's not what happens. You don't always get what you want.
It's true.
But if you try sometimes, you get what you need.
You might find. Yeah, that's true. That's what I hear. Allegedly.
Which is maybe we need a cyberpunk world, and it's going to be awesome, and we'll have nuclear fallout, and we'll have those sweet, like, umbrellas, and we'll have flying cars. Hey, if we get flying cars, maybe it's worth it.
You can't go over this without power, McFly. Hoverboard. Oh, man. I might even be in for Jaws 15. I don't know yet.
I would be in.
Better than a Jaws remake. Would the shark roar again?
This is 2015, though. This is the year of the future. This October. I fully expect all of those things to come true by then. We already saw Tony Hawk riding on a hoverboard.
Not a real hoverboard.
Not a real hoverboard, but making progress. Baby steps, Zero.
That's not even really a baby step. You really could have made that one at kind of any time. It's not a hoverboard. It's just a piece of metal that floats above another piece of metal.
But in the future, everything will be chrome.
Oh, crap, you're right. Everything will be shiny and chrome. All right, fair enough. It's a hoverboard.
Okay, cool. Okay, last thing is what's actually happening in the secret trade deal, Obama's secret trade deal. Which there's some things that I really like Obama with, and there's some things that I really don't like him with. Which one would you recommend? Which one did they say was the best? I think when they send him to the grandfather, he dies, and so leave him with Aris.
I think we're supposed to leave him with Aris.
Yeah, leave him with Aris. Anyway, it goes on to talk about how a lot of Asia tariffs the U.S. when we try to import things. And
yeah, pretty crazily.
We don't tariff things when they come back in, so right now it's much easier to have things made overseas than in the U.S., right?
Yes, that is part of it. Essentially, a lot of places charge more to get our goods than goods from their neighbors. And that's kind of what Obama is trying to fix in his trade deal. He's going about it in a really dumb way by making a bunch of it really secret so people will automatically resist it. Only like 5 pages of it actually deal with trade. Most of it deals with like what corporations can do. Wrong order. Whoops. However, there's also the sense that there's a lot of stuff in there about how corporations can sue governments if they think what the government will do will make them lose profit. That can be really bad for some southeastern nations. Like, yeah,
but also
when your nation makes... Go ahead.
Sorry. I feel like that's very, very negative when the corporation can sue the government.
Yeah, and there are corporations that make more money than some Southeastern Asian governments. And so I wish he'd release the text of the document. If it's really good, he should have no problem letting us see, like, at least some of our senators see what the early text is. And a lot of the people who have seen the text say folks like Elizabeth Warren are right, which is kind of my problem. However, yeah, we get shafted over the seas at a lot of countries that are just outright kind of breaking these World Trade Organization rules. And we don't call them on it, so we're trying to get a trade deal that will let us call them on it more. But I think it will cost us jobs. We can talk more, and I'm sure we will in other episodes, about my thoughts on the post-scarcity society that the United States is going to have to adopt soon if we don't figure out a way to make capitalism work.
But first we have to get to the post-scarcity area.
Exactly.
We have to go towards, like, the Matrix before, the pre-Matrix before robots take over, versus Mad Max, where everything goes to crap.
That's the pre-Matrix.
Yeah, Skynet. Test her for secret skills. Yeah.
I'm just letting this stuff read out. Anyway, so yeah, that's the idea. We aren't there yet.
Why do we not tariff countries coming back in, or do we? Is it turnabout as fair play?
If you tariff people for stuff and most of your if you tariff people for items that you can only get from a certain area, our disadvantage is in one way that China steals a lot of our designs and then copies them, and then places like Vietnam tariff China lower than they tariff us, so they can just buy cheaper stuff from China.
Yeah.
Or Japan protects its automobile manufacturers by charging higher tariffs for American-made automobiles. And if we did that, our people would complain about how much prices are going up. Kind of like how when OPEC raises oil prices, Americans complain to the government about oil prices going up. And our government's like, there's a bunch of guys in the Middle East who are raising the prices. There's literally nothing we can do about this. A coalition of folks in the Middle East decided oil was going to be $160 a barrel, so your oil prices went up. This is not something the government controls.
I guess what the government could control is whether or not we use, like, our oil, but we already do that.
Yeah, so but then they'd have to deal with, like, Enron and BP and other folks who deal on our soils. But that's the thing, like, Americans hate for prices to go up. If we put more tariffs on things, a lot of prices would start going up.
But maybe But didn't they used to say things that were, like, made in America were better quality?
Yeah, that was before NAFTA.
Well, but maybe...
no, that's not true. That is unfair. We started in the 80s when Japan was making smaller cars and stuff. America kind of went to, our brands are trusted all over the world, so we're going to charge more for them and not make them better quality. Like, if you ask, say, Harley fans, like certain people we know are, a lot of people who've been long-time Harley fans will talk about the quality drop Harley went through in the post, like, 60s and 70s, like, especially over the 80s. A lot of guitars, when Japanese companies like Ibanez showed up, started making Gibson guitars that were just as good for cheaper prices. I got sued by Gibson, in fact. At some Japanese cars, like Toyotas and stuff, really became popular during the first 70s gas crunch. And America was still making these giant gas guzzlers like the Cadillac I used to own. Like the 80s Cadillacs and Oldsmobiles and stuff. America just didn't change. It's one of our biggest weaknesses as a country is we get really stuck in the mud and say, we're right, and we don't change.
Yeah.
But people still have to cut costs to compete. So they hire, hey, we've already won the hearts of the common folk of Nova.
Yay!
Good job. And
never
so that sort of
underestimate
stuff happens,
the power of music, Zero.
And we start charging more for things that are not better than the competition. Like, one of the things I've always said about, I drive a Kawasaki motorcycle. My two friends who at one point both drove Harleys, and their Harleys cost as much as my Kawasaki and were not as good, although they will claim otherwise.
Well, I think one of the two would maybe admit it because his his transmission went out, like, a bunch, right? Didn't your transmission go out a bunch? On your Harley? Yeah. He says yes.
Wait, seriously? You never told me that.
Oh, she's like a spy. She's like a really cute Black Widow.
We've been doing
She's like a baby Black Widow.
The Age of Me? Black Widow, The Age of Me. Didn't I send you that Saturday Night Live sketch?
Oh, yes, you did, where she's all like she's like Supergirl. Unfortunately, sure. I watched the Age of Me SNL super skit where she's like has to bring people coffee and do all this kind of stuff, and it's very like rom-com-esque. And then I immediately after that watched the Supergirl skit where she does all of those things, but for real, like they're being really serious about it. And my brain exploded, and I had to like recover from that for a long time.
Wait, like the new Supergirl pilot that just came out or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jokes. They hit a little too close to home.
Yeah, but then I was like reading this thing and then like, well, look, but Supergirl is not Black Widow. She is that kind of way. Like, that's how her character was. And that's okay. Right? She was like more girly and like more, you know, I don't want to say cutesy, but she was like...
Supergirl is not Black Widow. Supergirl is not Clark Kent. Weirdly, the person I can see most being like that in his new job is Clark Kent. Clark's cousin is she's Clark's older cousin. She's way more fiery and outspoken. I cannot see her being like the Age of Me storyline. I haven't actually watched the Supergirl pilot,
Did you
'Cause
watch the trailer for it though?
no, I'm pretty sure it's just going to disappoint me. Because I like Supergirl. Is it disappointing?
Try it out. I mean, like, at least watch the trailer for it. It was cute. I
All
don't
right,
know. I
I'll go
thought it
find
looked
the
interesting,
trailer.
and she does like kind of stick up for herself. But she's, I think that they make her out to be Superman's younger cousin. I didn't realize that she was his older cousin. I guess that
Well,
makes
it's
sense.
time.
Though.
It's relativity shenanigans. She left Krypton first, but Superman's capsule got sucked into a wormhole, so he arrived on Earth first.
And then started aging, whereas she.
So yeah, so he started aging while she was still traveling through space. So when she shows up, she's, instead of being his like teenage
6 year
cousin,
older.
to newborn baby Superman versus teenage Supergirl. Now Supergirl is the younger, looks younger, is technically chronologically older. Relativistic speeds, etc., science.
I think that's kind of cool, but I feel like then that she should have a stronger pull towards like the culture of Krypton and stuff. We have gone on a really long tangent. I'm sorry.
We are just totally talking about this has been comic book episode. I'm glad, because we've been like playing video games, but we've been totally talking comic books.
Yeah.
We're barely halfway through this game, but I think we need to stop. We've kind of talked about everything.
I think just if you can't see eye to eye with someone, at least be fucking polite. It's not hard. It's really, really not hard. Try not to be an asshole, as usual, but just be polite. That's a long way towards not being an asshole. And also don't be condescending, which maybe I am being. I don't know. Call me on it if I am. I don't want to minimize people's stories or anything like that. So, as far as showing skin as a girl, one of the things was I've seen that was women that are marching for being able to be topless places is that, you know, breasts are only seen as this sexual thing, and part of that reason is that we only see them in sexual constructs. We only see them in sex scenes of movies. We only see them when girls are being sexy in movies. We only see them out when they're like in strip clubs, and so they are seen in this super sexualized way. And so this girl was like, well, what if I just sat in front of you for like 5 minutes and was topless? And all of the guys that she was interviewing was like, well, we would only be able to see like your boobs. We'd only be able to see your tits. And she's like, okay, well, what if I like hung out with you for like 5 hours or like 2 days topless? Like, you'd have to do other things than like stare at my tits. We'd have to like get dinner. You'd have to go to the bathroom, blah, blah, blah. Like, you would not, I don't think that you could maintain staring at the boobs for like hours on end. Which I think obviously some dudes would be like, no, I'd totally stare at the tits the whole time. But I think realistically, would get old. I mean, like, you would sort of forget about it.
Yeah.
So I think that, like, girls showing skin is just, like, just get used to it. Girls are not going to stop showing skin, I think. Only show more skin. And
so
girls...
you are requesting... Well, that's the point of the slut walks. Like, slut walks come around about once a year, and the whole point of it is to take back the word slut as if it's a bad thing, in reference to the fact that, you know, a man who sleeps around is a stud, a woman who sleeps around is a slut. So there's an inherent gender imbalance
or even
there.
that a girl that wears short skirt feels like a slut, like my friend. And I'm like, no, right. I don't think that that's true. That's really terrible logic.
And yes, the goal is to take back your right to dress the way you want and to look the way you want. You're not asking to dress provocatively, and you can dress provocatively. Like, the statement is not you can't dress up to excite somebody. It's that you can choose, in the same way you can choose to offend somebody, you can choose to dress in a way that excites people. And then you can be like, it is 95 degrees out. I'm going to wear a tank top and shorts because I have to go shopping. I'm going to be a little cold in the supermarket, but you know what? It's going to be way better when I am outside, and I have to go outside.
Yeah.
And you're not dressing provocatively for those people. You're dressing because it's 95 degrees out. I'm not going to wear like...
And as a person that lives in SoCal, in the Valley, it gets really hot. And also, we grew up in Nebraska, and it got really hot in the summer. And
yeah, Nebraska is a hell planet on the level of Seleucus Secundus. It's negative 40 in the winter, and it's 95 with 90% humidity in the summer. Yes,
I always say that it's negative 10 in the winter and 110 in the summer.
You know, that is just as accurate. Because, you know, sometimes it's that in 1 week. We call that February.
Ugh, freaking February. Ugh.
So, yes, that's the thing. Sometimes people can dress to make you feel a certain way. There's lots of clothes for that. Sometimes you're just dressing to keep like warm. And the point of a slut walk is to say, I will dress however I want. It's your job to keep your hands and thoughts to yourself. And I mean, I think you're right. Your friend had nothing to be ashamed of, even if she was intentionally dressing to like, if she was dressing to entice a guy or a girl to come sleep with her that night, that is still fine.
It should be.
Maybe
it made me feel
she
a
was
little bit,
dressing
like, insecure because I was wearing a dress that was like pretty short. Like if I was standing up and I put my arms down, it like the skirt came to like my like knuckles, and I was like, does that mean that you think that I'm slutty because I'm wearing a dress like that's short? I don't even know. I wasn't super worried about it, but I was. It was one of those things where, you know, you see somebody all the time in like one scenario and then suddenly you see them in like a new scenario. That was like the awkwardness that I felt, because it's like I always see these guys in like gym like clothes, and suddenly I was seeing them in like not gym clothes, and they were like, wow, you look different with makeup on. And I was like, that's makeup.
That's the point. It's a mask. Yep. It does change how you look. It remains makeup.
And
At
then
least
like
they
we
didn't
went
say,
on.
I never thought of you as a girl before, right? Because guys are known to say that.
They were, but they're
well,
like
you've
pretty
clearly
good.
experienced that one before. Do you want to go to the party or send your regrets?
Let's send our regrets.
Are you sure? We could get killed off before the episode ends.
No! I know how that goes.
We're a sad spy master.
Oh, sad spy master. With
All right, so yeah,
monocle.
So
last thing
women
is,
dressing.
I'm kind of glad that
Patriot
the Supreme Court did the thing with Abercrombie. I think that's
we have
okay.
3 things.
Senate fails to do it. I wish that they wouldn't keep our information at all. I think that was already a sum up. It was a really short point.
Yeah, that's what Rand Paul wanted.
Yeah. What's actually an Obama's secret trade deal? I wish Obama wouldn't keep secrets. Secrets don't make friends, Obama. Thanks.
Nailed it. I have nothing to add.
Thank you. Okay, well, if you have nothing to add, and how are we doing? We have survived so far. We have survived. We've got about 20... No. What week is this? Week 42? There's still about 14 weeks to go in this. There's plenty of time for us to still die. Definitely.
So I'm going to save the game.
Yay! Princess Chicory, that's right. I approve of this message.
I've apparently never saved this game before.
Wow, that kind of says something.
Yeah, that says a lot about this game. So yeah, and let's wrap it up then, I guess. Where do they find us if they want to talk more, since we've disabled our comments on YouTube?
Okay,
because
so
the Pacific Standard told us to.
Don't comment on our show, but instead you can find us on Twitter at 123chicory or Zero Utopia. Right?
Yes, I'm at Zero Utopia. Also, you can like our videos or subscribe to our channel. And if you like this and want more, you should subscribe, because they won't let us have a personalized URL until we have 500 subscribers.
Oh, man.
And I'd like to be able to tell people how to find this in the future.
That's absolutely
instead of having a random GUID.
Thank
so
you.
Please like and subscribe to the video.
Yay, please.
And
please. And we'll see you next time, okay? Bye.
Yeah. Bye.